Hi, I'm Jarek Zajk, co-founder and director of VA Maven.
And I'm Daryl Swanson, another co-founder and director of EA Maven. And today we're here to take you through our UK City Advanced Air Mobility Index. So what this is it's an extension of our Regional Air Mobility Index that we produced earlier in the year, where we're actually looking at the potential for advanced air mobility across the United Kingdom, with a specific focus on the cities themselves as opposed to the airports. Later this year, we'll be producing a comprehensive analysis of the opportunities across the UK for advanced air mobility. And this analysis is aimed at OEMs, airlines, and investors in infrastructure to help them understand the potential for advanced air mobility, where those routes are, and help them get their business plans right and get the infrastructure right to support this. So I'm going to pass it over to Jarek, who's going to take us through the actual methodology.
In terms of methodology, we use mobility data, specifically a sample for a week in 2019, to reflect the pre-COVID situation on the UK market. We use a map of 400 shapes of LAW1 spatial division of the UK. And basically our analyses are based on one city is equal to one shape, with the exception of London, which consists of 32 shapes. And with this methodology, we've come up with 368 cities, and we analyzed all possible routings between them. And through a sifting exercise, we come up with 994 routes for future indexing analysis. And our sifting methodology is basically through certain thresholds like aircraft range requirements or general assumptions for AM services, distances, which we call also bladder factors. So basically, how much time people would be willing to spend on board of such aircraft. And other metrics are basically population between all those cities, so the minimum population thresholds, or the minimum number of travelers traveling per week between any given 2 points. And this minimum number of travelers basically has been derived from our experience from other work that we have done over the last years. And on those 994 city pairs, we've conducted detailed analysis, which we call indexing, through basically several universal factors like travel times, frequencies, or convenience of travel. And we use some weightings and coefficients to come up with the total and basically top list of 994 routes. And this is like a first layer of our analysis, which we then take to the second layer and third layer, which is our demand modeling and scheduling. And our model is based on this mobility data and other sources like socioeconomic data or airline schedules when it's needed. And the mobility data gives us insights into such things like modes of transport, time of day of travel, purposes of travel, directionality, and other factors we can use like fares or convenience of travel. We use our calibration methods, which are basically developed in-house through various weighting methodologies and coefficient assignment. And basically what the model does, the model shows us how many people would switch from other modes of transport and certain purposes of travel to new AAM operations. And this gives us an overview of the total market in a given route for future AAM operations. But this can be further analyzed through our scheduling methodology. And scheduling methodology, in this case on an OMB basis, can give us some more insights into infrastructure requirements, on how many aircraft will be needed, aircraft utilization, other metrics like load factors, fares, or economic benefits that can be derived from the total time saved. And then here on the right-hand side, you just have a sample of our analysis of scheduling and smoothing out methodologies, so basically frequencies and capacity offering on a given route and how it is applied to the demand, which is sometimes with high peaks during AM and PM peak periods. And in terms of the total numbers from the assessment, so as I mentioned, we've analyzed 368 cities, and initially we've analyzed more than 40,000 routes, and through our sifting process, the total addressable market of almost 10 million travelers weekly and more than 470 million annually. And what is very interesting more than 80% of those travelers traveled by car, and more than 31% were business travelers.
So once Jarek applied his magic to it, we've actually cut that down to 264 cities with 994 routes that we're analyzing. So the target market is now 6.6 million travelers on a weekly basis, or about 316 million annually. There was a bit of a cut in terms of the travelers by car, so about 75%, but an increase in terms of the business travelers, so 33% of them were traveling by car. Now, one of the things that we've learned over time to do is actually start to estimate how much time is potentially saved by people switching to advanced air mobility. And what we've determined is that on an annualized basis, if a reasonable number of passengers switch, they would save about 9,700 years on an annual basis, so collectively. Now, that has an economic impact, and using DFT WebTag data, we were able to estimate that direct time savings alone is worth about 2.2 billion to the United Kingdom. So that's a huge amount that could be going back into the economy. And that doesn't even begin to measure things like increased employment through jobs created, or the whole supply chain that is involved in the delivery of the infrastructure and the system for advanced air mobility. So massive upside for the UK. We also looked specifically at the business travelers. So 69% of business travelers traveled by car on all those 994 routes. We looked at about 475 of those routes had a share of about 30% of business travelers. And then 26% of those routes had a share of more than 50% of business travelers. So again, on those top 26 routes, which we think will probably be the first ones that will be developed out, we have about 160,000 travelers a week, and about 48.7% of them are traveling by car. So again, huge opportunities to get people out of car and into a more environmentally friendly mode of sub-regional transport. We've taken that economic stimulation analysis. So again, those top 26 routes could be putting in £335,000 a week, or about 16 million pounds per annual in terms of economic stimulation. So a few maps here. What we're seeing is the weekly travelers both ways by region. So this is the top 10. So of course we would expect to see a Southeast centric analysis there. But if we start looking towards the north of the UK and Northern Ireland, there are still a significant number of passengers that would benefit through advanced air mobility services. And again, this is more of analysis looking at the economic stimulation just through the time savings. So for the north of the UK, again, there's still significant benefits to be had through the development of advanced air mobility routes there. Now, of course, the lion's share would be in the southeast, but that's not unexpected. So we looked at those top 26 business traveler routes, again, by region, and we have some of those routes there listed in terms of the number of potential routes. So again, significant opportunities for stimulation. Now, this chart is probably one of the most boring that we do, but it's actually the most telling in terms of the number of potential routes there. No points for guessing that London, Manchester, and Birmingham are in positions 1, 2, and 3. I think you would expect that anyway. But on the table on the right, what we're talking here about is the number of routes for those cities and the travelers weekly combined across them. So again, a significant amount of detail and analysis went into this report, but it really points towards the potential opportunities for advanced air mobility in the United Kingdom. Jarek.
Talking about aircraft capabilities, this is just a summary of our assessment of various aircraft and how many city pairs would be in range. So as you can see, with the shortest range aircraft, around 342 would be in range out of those 994 within the indexing analysis. And when we go through the list, you can see that in the middle, we can basically reach almost 900 of them, and the rest is basically reachable. So 994, so all of them by various manufacturers and various aircraft types.
So just wrapping up here, this is the actual index itself, and we've unredacted London Oxford as the highest route, and that's again a bit of a no-brainer. So we see huge opportunities out there, but again, there are other routes with more passengers flowing through, which have been taken down in terms of the index score, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not viable. And this is where the next bit of our analysis would be in terms of doing the detailed demand modeling and the scheduling to get a true understanding of the potential for advanced air mobility. We have this breakdown by mode of transport, and then of course we have that breakdown again by business and leisure travelers. So that's it for us in terms of the analysis. So thank you very much for your time. We hope that you've enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, by all means, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.